See it played, Death Ride, Halfaya Pass, actions. So the action here is the far eastern portion of the assault on Halfaya Pass, Operation Battle Axe. Specifically, it's the 1.6 Rajputana rifles, reinforced. About 5 or 6 companies worth, something like that. So they attacked west against the German Battle Position 1, defended by some anti-tank units and Panzer Grenadiers. Two remarks up front. If I can remember them. One is, if this session goes the way I hope it goes, I think I will be back on track with enjoying this system. Second remark up front is kind of how I got here. I started with Hafid Ridge, which was a good and logical place to start. Basically nothing but flat desert and some high ground, essentially an armor and anti-armor battle. I felt good about my understanding of the rules from Hafid Ridge. I felt good about my understanding of the gameplay. And then things got off track after that as I expanded out from Hafid Ridge. When I broke out the rules, started looking at the rules for Death Ride Kursk Totenkopf, and started looking at the rules for Death Ride Salerno 16th Panzer, and especially when I broke out the information counters for DRKT, all of this reading of I don't even know if they're later, but reading of other rule sets and looking over these information counters just made me incredibly uneasy that I had in fact understood the rules, and that I was in fact even playing the game right. So that's where I've been trying to work myself back from. Yeah. So with respect to this battle itself, or this action, got some notes first up front. First here, note number 1. When the British Army company moved from the wire here adjacent to the German defender there, the German anti-armor unit there, the question was, could the anti-armor platoon conduct defensive fire against the British Army company that moved adjacent? The Germans were already marked opportunity fire primary weapon because they had already fired at a target over here. So, as I understand it, the German unit could not conduct defensive fire against the same unit that it conducted opportunity fire against. So therefore, I'm assuming that that platoon, even though it was marked opportunity fire primary weapon, it could still do defensive fire against this other unit, not the unit that it had conducted opportunity fire against. Note number 2, now that the British are adjacent with 2 companies and almost adjacent with a third, now it it's looking like I should have had the Germans keep a local reserve that could now use reserve movement. Is that what it's called? But use reserve movement to reinforce reserve movement to reinforce the close assaults that are coming. But there was no local reserve. Third note is I have my battalion command headquarters back here. And I should not ignore, I can't ignore, the command and control, but I haven't looked it up. So I'm going to do that now. Supply. So command control relationships on the Allied side. I'm looking for 1-6 Rajputana rifles, 1-6RR combat units. That's all of our merry men down here. 7 hexes to assigned headquarters. That is the headquarters right there. So 7 hexes to the battalion headquarters. So, and I'm not worrying about higher, but it'd be 13 hexes to the brigade headquarters. Brigade headquarters. Okay, so so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the frontline trace is 5 hexes from the battalion headquarters. So I had forgotten about that, and I should keep a watch on that. Oh yeah, and 4. Note 4. I'm trying to remember note 4. What was note 4? Note 4 was, oh yeah, note 4. I was assuming, and I will continue to assume, that this unit includes mortars and probably machine guns. But more specifically in game terms, I did review the artillery and mortars section. But it specifies, it says use. When an artillery or mortar, not heavy weapons, unit is used, it must be turned over to show that it may not be used again that turn, So I was wondering, from before, was I correct that unit could conduct opportunity fire normally against multiple unit stacks moving separately, obviously? And I do think yes, because I do think that this is a heavy weapons unit. As a matter of fact, yeah, it's a heavy weapons unit, not an artillery unit. In game terms, it's a heavy weapons unit right there. Asterisk between the primary weapon factor of 2 and the defense factor of 8. So it is a heavy weapons unit, so it can do the multiple opportunity fires as per normal, and it doesn't have that artillery and mortar unit restriction. So that's note number 4. So we'll pick up now, get some close combats going here. Of note, of course, is that now the British Army units are adjacent to the suppressed German units there. So we'll pick up in a minute. Okay. This might be a time for the Germans to consider withdrawal movement, but for this action, we'll just assume that the Germans have to delay the British Army advance here for as long as possible. So there is no withdrawal. The idea is they're going to try to mass all their fire on this lead central British Army company. I think what we're looking at is, for example, this anti-tank platoon over here is going to suffer 20% combat value reduction per suppression level. So down 40%. Again, that's 60% for that unit, 20% for that unit. And then, so we're going to try to mass them all. Now, I'm wondering, we have fire is suppressed, level 1, 2, 3, 4, maximum -4. Fire is suppressed. Maybe I'm supposed to add these. So I'm going to just mass one huge attack, and it'll probably still be a low odds attack, except maybe we are going to get +2 for adjacent. But we have crossfire, enfilading fire. That's a positive. Positive, we're adjacent. But the negatives are the suppression levels. So I'm wondering if you're not supposed to add these together, but to a maximum -4. So maybe 2 + 3 is 5, +1 is 6. But instead of -6, you just use the maximum -4. As opposed to, are you supposed to take the worst? Which would only be -3. I'm going to go with adding them together to a maximum of -4. So -4, +2 for adjacent, +1 for the crossfire, basically between involving this hex side and this hex side. So that's -1, -1, -1. Okay, it'll be -1, and then I'll figure out what all the total strength is that we can mass here again. Well, actually, the soft target secondaries are going to be ×2 at being adjacent for these units here. Okay, we'll see how much firepower they can amass. All right, I went right to start my first combat factors, and I thought about it for a second. I guess it's going to be 2 secondary weapon factor adjacent against the soft targets ×2 for 4, but basically 60% of that plus 60% of 2. So I think that the percentage reductions, and it's going to be here and here, are per combat factor type. All right, so I may have been off on one of my percentages by about 0.2, but I get, with all of this, I actually get an even 30. And I think the only advantage, or I think the source of the 30, is a heavy weapons unit firing adjacent, and then all of the other adjacent fires. I think that's really the source of 30. So that, of course, is 1. That's on the 1 column. So we'll see what the result is. It looks like the Germans had about a 40% chance of having a positive outcome, including within that a 10% chance of eliminating that lead. Nope, I take that back. No possibility of eliminating it, but a 40% chance of getting an S1 or S2. but unfortunately they rolled pretty bad. 3 minus 1 is 2. Nothing. Too bad. And well, I'll just leave it because that's the only thing for the Germans. I won't bother marking them. So now we go to the unit recovery. So this unit's going to recover 1 level because he's adjacent to the enemy. The heavy weapons unit recovers. Oops, supposed to recover. Here, I'll swap these. Supposed to recover just 1. So suppression level 3 down to 2, and this anti-tank unit from 2 down to 1, also because it's adjacent to an enemy. But at least they had the infantry platoon unsuppressed. And so now we'll look at the British Army side. Looking at the British Army situation, I think it's time for me to review overrun versus the close assault phase. Yeah. Okay, first things first, starting on the seaward side here, the Delta Company here is going to conduct an overrun of the suppressed anti-tank platoon there. So they're going to expend 4 movement points to conduct the overrun. It has a movement allowance of 6. So this is going to be conducted like an assault. And I'm going to use the assault table with the assault modifiers. To note here, first of all, the secondary weapon of the British Army Company is doubled. So their firepower is 26. The defending German anti-armor platoon, their defensive value is increased by 1 for the suppression level 1. So instead of a 6, they're actually a 7. And that, when you do the odds, corresponds to a 1 column shift down or 1 column shift in the Germans' favor. So we're going to execute this on the 3.5 column. This is a passing note, just in case there was any question. It looks like suppressed units may assault at a penalty. Here, of course, we just have defenders, but this is going to be a +1 for the British attackers because the German defenders are suppressed to level 1. So wow, I had to double check and then triple check the result here because this is really unexpected. Remember from an earlier video that the Death Ride series does not use a predictable combat tables. Some of the results are mixed up, so it's not a simple progression. The British rolled a 6 +1 for their modifiers to a modified 7 on the 3.5 column. Now, I thought for sure that would have been really good for them, but it was not. The actual result is the attackers are suppressed level 2 and nothing to the Germans. Wow. Very unexpected, and it has everything to do with the table. So you come up here to 7, and it's actually an S/dash. So if it had just been 1 higher, at least the defender would have been suppressed to level 2. And if it had been 1 less, then the Germans would have been suppressed level 1. But anyways, there it is. An S result equals 1 stack is suppressed 2 levels. So, okay. Did not expect that, and so that was an overrun. So, so I guess they're done. It is interesting. Well, let's just make sure. Suppression. Moving unit. Well, I guess they are moving units, right? They're just conducting an overrun assault. Moving units that get a suppressed result of any type must halt their movement. So I guess that's the answer to the question. Okay, so that was unexpected. Well, I guess, well, I know I want to move this platoon, expends all of its movement allowance to move up into the escarpment. I know that. You know, I guess I still have to mark them because, well, I think I do. And what would that be considered? Fired or moved? Fire? No, it's not fire complete. I guess it would be moved full. Yeah. I guess it would be moved full. That was really unexpected. Okay. Now I'll just try fire from the British company here, British Army company here, to the German infantry platoon there. Yeah. All right. They're up 1 level, but they're within short range. Okay. I'm thinking maybe I don't want my engineers to move, and so I'm going to have them remove these wire, the German wire here, and I guess to remember, I could designate them moved full, even though they actually didn't move at all, which is what allowed them to remove the wire. All right, that leaves my lead Charlie company and the mortars, and I think I'm going to leave them for an assault. So I think, well, let me check. Exactly, we go to, what's next? Close assault phase. Okay, so I think what it is I think designate assaults, have reserve movement, then resolve assaults. All right, so here's the assault there, and I just looked up the mortar supporting an assault means that they get the modifiers for the best possible target from the British perspective. So we have soft target suppressed to level 2, another soft target, well, 3 soft targets, so we'll leave that aside. So now we have -2 for the assault there, for the being dug in. All right, so let's see. First of all, the British company is a bit easier. That's 26. And then the defenders are, oh no, wait. Actually, this is plus, these are plus mortars. So actually, I want to make sure I get that right. They're plus mortars against soft, long range. Yeah, okay, so it's times 2. Times 2. Okay. So it's just 26 plus 8 for 34. They will be fire complete. Not that it matters exactly, but just to remember. No, it's not even to remember, just to consider. Okay. Hey. All right. I'll see what the total combat factors are here and see the result. Check the result. Okay. A few things to consider here. -2 for the defender being suppressed, +2 for... +2 for the defender being suppressed, -2 for being dug in, canceled out. Now there is a combined arms entry for assaulting units called artillery, +1, but I did not use that because I don't know if the artillery I don't know if the artillery combined arms bonus includes mortars. It probably does, but I don't know. So I just left it off for now. So I left it an even 7. The British Army units were almost able to make it to 1.5, but they fell just short. So it was on the 1 column. So a 7 actually results in S/S. So I think what that means is the British Army unit there, suppress level 2. Like that. And here, well, I guess we add, oh, okay. Well, well, it's 2 to the stack. So, well, I don't know what I'll do in the future. I don't know what I'll do in the future, but for now I'll just break them all out. Oops, I'm using the wrong side. 2, okay. And then, well, let's see what happens here, because next should be suppression recovery. So we go like that. So that's the assault. Close assault. Now, yep, unit suppression recovery. So the phasing player is going to reduce green only. Oh, they don't have any green. Oh. The British don't have any green. So we go to the, no, and then both players flip red to green. Flip. 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 And then these ones, I believe now, can be consolidated to a green 4. I believe. And we clean up our markers. All right. So now that we're to the close assault phase of the battle, I think there's going to be a lot of number crunching probably from here on out. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to mass all the German fire on the lead British Army company there. The difference now from last time is that the Germans have more suppression, as well as the British company, defending company, is also suppressed now. So we'll see what the results are of this. So the massed German fire attack, there actually missed a result by just one. So after that, all of the German units here recovered one suppression level because they're adjacent to the enemy. Now we'll go to the British Army side. So I noticed that I moved the AT unit after it had dismounted. I moved it up into the escarpment, but actually it has a movement, after it dismounts, it has a movement allowance of 0. So I moved it back to where it dismounted. This company here got an S2 result against the infantry platoon there. The suppressed infantry company with the mortars just barely missed hitting the German heavy weapons platoon by one on the roll. The engineer moved up here. So now the red suppression is going to be flipped. I'm not going to close assault with the suppressed units. Maybe I should, but I'm not going to. So flip green, red suppression to green. Well, actually, I'm doing that in the wrong order. Phasing player. The British will reduce their suppression levels by 1 because they're adjacent to the enemy. Like that. Then we flip red suppression to green. And we clean up. And we'll see what the results are. Push this on at least one more turn. So the Germans actually caused one more suppression level against the lead platoon there. And then they reduced a lot of their suppression so that now only the heavy weapons platoon is still suppressed to level 2. Then the British suppression flips to 2.